well, I can't see anything.
No, he's fucking fitting.
All
Oh,
right, we're back. Chris is back at the house. He's bitching about the weather, but that's all right. It's just part of life. Queensland, tropical, beautiful one day, pouring
it's
rain the next.
horrible the next year.
We're just chatting off here about conditions and sprinting, and we've spoken about this many times about the times that you get in life as a track runner for the perfect conditions. Maybe that's the benefit of, some of the elite athletes where they get to race all the time, and I think I mentioned the other week, or I mentioned something about this, in the Diamond League these days, because they get to go to Europe, at least they get to go to a different country where potentially the tracks face a different direction and they get to, have different climate conditions all the time. But you were just saying before about, you can count on over a 20-year track career, you can count on one hand the amount of times you get to run in good conditions. And it's so true. I think it's one of the most frustrating things about sprinting, the amount of times you turn up and it's just crap weather. You haven't prepared that well. I don't know. You might have had a shit sleep the night before. And I bang on about this all the time and you were saying we both come from similar backgrounds playing football first, Aussie rules and rugby, that playing football, you had 2 hours to actually get the game right. You turn up and you feel like shit or you've had a bad sleep or whatever, your dog's crapped on the floor in the morning and you get up and you're upset. But the moment you get into the game, you've got another 2 hours to get it right. In track, you get, 400-meter runners 50 seconds and in sprinting even less time. So it's pretty tough. And once that motivation starts to wane, it just becomes harder and harder.
Well, it's like, with football, the goal is week in, week out to try and accrue enough points and win enough games to make finals. Whereas when you go to an event, like typically a sprint event, I say 100 through to even 800 meters, and you go into call room and the official walks in and says, right, there's 120 of you, but for 8 spots. So you've got to be first or second or you're done. So that's the opportunity you have to, and then that only just gets you to the next round, and then they have the same conversation with you all over again. First 2 go through, the rest of you can go home. So, and that doesn't happen over a season. That happens over about a minute.
Yeah.
So, and
it's brutal, right?
Oh my God. And you're going to spend all season practicing for that moment. Just for
exactly.
That moment. And and if there's 120 guys like in the room vying for 8 spots, 122 of them are going home.
Yeah. I remember the world champs down in Melbourne, and again, it was, over 2 or 3 days. A couple of pro runners came out of the woodwork, and we've always, run around our entire career and think we're the fastest in our age bracket. And obviously we've both won, a few titles and whatever else. But then all of a sudden, these other guys just jumped out of the pros into the Masters down in Melbourne one year. And like there was a couple of guys, I don't know, I must have been in my 40s, the 40, 45 bracket. There was a couple of guys that ran like 11-1.
Yeah.
They just come out and blasted. I think somebody actually clocked a 10-9 from memory. And I knew him. I'd actually race before him, Victoria against him. But it was a 5 or 6 meter headwind, and he still ran 11-3, 11-4 in the final, in the heats.
Yeah.
It was ridiculous. So, but then, the benefit was a couple of days later, we had the much better weather for the 400, and that was when I ran a 52-1 in that fall. I did run second to some 800-meter runner, picked me on the line. I couldn't believe it. I went out too slow with the first 200. Yeah. And I knew it. I knew that, I had one of those horrible races where someone on the outside of me was talking his game up. He's got to run 50 flat, blah, blah, blah. Before the start of the race, I'm thinking, and he's on the outside of me. And I knew I had the 800-meter runner on the inside. And I was like, oh, God, he's pretty quick. Christoph was in this race, by the way. And I'm like, and I think even Kev was in the race. He just jumped in just to run a 4. He didn't run very well, but he just joined the track club. But the guy on the outside, I thought, okay, he's going to be a good lead out. And I kind of just sat off him. I made some ground on him in the stagger, but we went through the first 200 too slow. And I ran it decent too, but I was then coming home. The 800-meter runner just got over the top of me like Mike Lynch. Last 30 meters, just climbed over me. I was like all the way. And he climbed over me at 5 meters to go. I was starting to really go lactic, and he just got a step in front of me. He ran 51.99, and I ran 52.1.
Yeah,
It's heartbreaking.
I know. He did that to me on that campus run where I led for 399 meters, and he just literally stepped over the line in front of me.
Yeah.
I'll never forget it. He'll never forget it either because he raises it every now and then. But it's just that headwind down the back that day in Queensland just buried me. I couldn't keep going. And Mike was strong. You know how Mike is.
Yeah. And Mike, because of his strength, again, you had to try and blow him up in the first 200. If you got him to chase you in the first two, because he didn't have the speed. And same with this guy, I can't remember his name, it was Mark somebody, but I think from memory, I should look it up. He ran a 156 or something for the 8.
Yeah.
Like he was a really, really good 8 runner. And then he just stepped down for in the 200, he only ran 25. He ran the 2, 4, and the 8. He was a classic Mike. He was a bit faster than Mike. He was a bit younger as well, but it might have been high 150, but it was a very, very good time in the 8 that he ran. But so it's interesting sprinting where you just don't get that opportunity to have many good races, right? It's just, it's unfortunate. And there's been many, many athletes, and I always talk about Kathy Freeman. She had one of the best careers from an injury point of view. She just had, I'd say, and maybe she had some injuries, and I trained at the same track as her for a long time. I reckon she went 10 years injury-free, or very few injuries.
Mike
it's
Johnson.
incredible.
Michael Johnson did the same. But a lot of people don't realise Clyde Hart got hold of him. He had tons of hamstring injuries before he had that decade of dominance in the 400. He was getting hamstring strains all the time until he developed that really strange running style. But that's what prevented him from getting hamstring strains. Clyde Hart writes about it many times, and that's why he kept dragging Michael Johnson back to running 30 and 32-second 200s off short rests to keep him healthy. But you can do that if you've got an athlete that's naturally super quick over 200 like he did. He could run like 19, 3 for 200 meters. You can afford to take him out slow and then still get him home strong over 400.
Yeah, for sure.
His speed was because he never broke 10 seconds for 100 meters. He's one of the only elite 400 meter runners that's, that sort of didn't do that. And you may or may not know this, but you wouldn't have thought Wade Van Niekerk, who ran 43.03 in the 400 to hold at Rio to hold the current 400 meter world record. And then he broke the 300 meter world record as well, running 30.84, only to have Letice Tebogo come out of nowhere and absolutely obliterate, and I'm not talking a little bit, obliterate the 300 meter world record of Wade Van Niekerk in 30.64 or so, just absolutely smashed it. And you would think, man, he's just got to go and run a 4 because with that sort of 300, he is going to run 43 low.
Yeah.
But here's the difference between various different athletes. He comes out to run his 400 and runs 44.2. So, which based on that 300, then you do start doing the math on paper, it doesn't add up. He should have been in the 43s, but he was nowhere near Wade Van Niekerk, which just tells how good that run was from the 300 to the 100, where it's not the case that he wasn't slowing down, because got to remember, Karani James and LaShawn Merritt, who ran 43.7 and 43.5 behind Wade Van Niekerk, they were just slowing down more than Niekerk. That's all.
Yeah.
But the fact that it's really interesting that Tebogo is not a 400 meter specialist, we're still managing to grind out a 44.2, even though he's a 200 meter specialist. So he had done some back end work, but still not enough to go anywhere near Niekerk, even though he's 300 meter record. So it's really interesting when you look at the numbers and individual athletes. And Tebogo must have been in all sorts of pain running 44.2. I just, given that it's really not his event.
These and I haven't just followed the times that closely, but these 400-meter runner, are they running sub 10 for 100 so now? They're breaking 10 seconds?
No. There's only
No.
There's only like 4 or 5
Yeah, I thought that.
who've done it that run sub 10 and then a sub 44.
Yeah, I was going to say they're probably not, if they're running sub 10, they're probably not amazing 400-meter runners. I mean, Michael Johnson, I think he ran 10-1, didn't he?
I think he got a 10-0 something. He just
10-0
never
something, yeah.
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 But so you're getting runners like I think Fred Curley's done it, Michael Norman I think has done it. Obviously Wayne Van Niekerk's done it.
10.09, 10.09.
09. I thought it was an O, yeah. So
yeah, 1932 for his 200. 2055 for a men's 200 short track, whatever that is. 30.85 for a 300.
Yeah, the world record he held the world record, then Niekerk ran 30.84, and then Tobago out and run 30.64.
Crazy, right?
Oh, it's so fast. But Tobago's also run a 19.50 200. He ran that in the Diamond League against, and took Noah Lyles by shock. Noah's like, holy hell, he's 50 metres from the line in a 200, and Tobago's in front of him. And Noah was like, what's going on? He had to pull all the stops out. His mechanics were all over the shop, and I think he got in at 19.49 to beat him.
Yeah, wow.
But Noah Lyles at the moment is in red hot form. He's going to go into Paris. I expect he'll run sub 19.4.
Yeah.
He's running in the 4 relay. He ran a 400 relay split the other day in a 44 something. That was Noah Lyles, and he's not a 400 meter runner.
Yeah, so, crazy, right?
That's pretty good.
Yeah. I was also thinking before about what you said about, playing football compared to running. You turn up and you in the call room and they give the whole 100 people out of the field, only 2 go through per heat. Even worse when you think about the relays, right? You turn up and you might only just make the relay team. You may not be good enough to make the individual, 1, 2 or 4 teams. You turn up and you make the relay team and somebody drops the baton.
Oh.
At that level.
Well,
you've just spent 4 years of training.
Yeah. How many times did the US do it at World Champs and Olympics? They either dropped it, ran out of their zone. They had this run, absolutely horror run of relay finals. They finally started to get it right. But, they had a terrible run. But, and that happens. I mean, you even look at Usain Bolt's very last run at the Olympic Games where, Jamaica, who holds the world record at 36.84 or something for the 4x1. And Usain Bolt in the final leg, became some fancy sandship.
Yeah.
The pattern doesn't go around at all.
Heartbreaking, right?
Well, it is if you're one of these lesser runners that doesn't, this is the only gig you're going to get and the baton doesn't go around. I mean, it's just, and amazingly, when I first came back to Masters, I didn't run in a dodgy event. I actually went to a World Masters Games, not World Championships, one of those World Masters Games. Here's the anchor length in a 4x100. It didn't even make the first change. These
let me guess who that was.
Oh, I couldn't even tell you who they were now. I don't know who it was.
No. Where was that at?
It was at SOPAC, at Sydney Olympic Park.
Yeah, okay. I was just gonna share a screen with you. Just don't know if you've seen this during the week. It's quite funny. There's been some funny things pop up. Some kid yesterday or during the week, specifically at the moment as well, lost their shoe. They look like they're under 10s. Lost their shoe in the 200.
I've seen it.
Have you? Went back, picked it up, and still won the race.
Went back, picked it up, put it on, and won.
Put it on.
Quality athlete. The crowd were nuts.
The
It was,
crowd was going nuts. Yes,
it
very
was good.
funny.
That was a good video. By the way, we've had a 15-year-old boy here in Australia run 47.54.
What?
Yeah.
47.54.
47.54.
Wow.
He's 15. That's good. He ran
We're-
21.9 for his 200.
Wow.
He's white.
Yeah. That.
And a 16-year-old
Sorry.
boy ran, I think, 20.29 to 200. He is not white.
Can you see that screen at all? It was a bit
Yes,
small.
I can. I'm just going to put it on my big screen.
Yeah.
Yep, I can see it.
I'll play this.
By the way, is this the one where the shoe comes off or where he falls?
No. Have you seen this as well?
Is this where he's in the home straight waving to the crowd?
Yes.
Yeah. This is so back.
Is it really?
Yeah. I'm pretty sure this is Sydney.
It's very funny.
Well, he's going to win this 400. He's going to win it easy. And he's carrying on. No, that's not Sydney, actually. It's somewhere else.
No, I don't think it's Sydney.
It's not Sydney, no.
We'll have a listen to this.
Oh my God! You're fucking getting it! Oh my God! Go, son! Go, son! Six! Go! Six!
And second last. So first by 20 meters. Yeah. Oh my God. That guy is actually got ability. He can run. And it's one of the best 400s I've ever seen. How do you get from first by 20 meters with 20 meters to go and then come second one? Because he fell over. Yeah, great. I wish I'd done something like that because that's hilarious.
Yeah, there's all these comments on Instagram. He just set the 390-meter record.
Yes.
It's very funny. But look, when we were younger, if that happened, you didn't ever get to see it. Now it's all over the internet. It's had 300,000 or 400,000 views on Instagram. It'll go to the millions, and the kid becomes famous. He'll probably get picked up by some sort of scout there, but it's very funny. Like, to be so brazen and brash to be waving to the crowd, pumping his fist, and down he goes.
Yeah. Well, Johnny Knoxville proved it that you can either get famous by being the best at something in the world or the dumbest.
Yeah.
There's nothing in between. So if you're going to do something really stupid, which was Jackass, you can get famous doing the most stupidest things you can think of, like that guy just did, like blowing that raise. Or you can be waving Nico.
Yeah. Well, there's been a few, hasn't there? Who is the downhill skier? Eddie the Eagle?
Eagle. Yeah. He's not famous, but how he didn't kill himself is beyond me.
I mean, that's a sport that you don't really want to be choosing if you can't, do it correctly.
Yeah, like, I mean, he was from the UK, and there's not a lot of ski jumping in the UK. I think there's only 3 Olympic pools, and even in the UK, it's just not something they do.
Who was the well, that's even a funny thing in itself, some of the things over the years, but who was the guy, and I think it was, I don't know if they were African-American black guy, but in the pool, was it a black guy in the pool that year that actually,
Eddie
the swimmers were out of the pool and getting changed and...
Yeah, Eddie the Eel.
Oh, Eddie the Eel.
He was from Equatorial Guinea.
That's right.
As you know, there's some countries that can't make qualifying standards, so they get like an honorary athlete gets put through. He was one of them. Because but at one point he was swimming, he was almost dog paddling, like his feet were almost touching the ground. and he just made it to the end of the pool. But one of the funniest things was because he rose to notoriety because of he was so bad. They sent a bunch of journos to Equatorial Guinea to interview his mother, and they've knocked on the door and gone, "Oh, Mrs. Eel or whatever, your boy's over in Sydney. You know, he's swimming in the Olympic Games," and she's like, "He's doing what now?" Like, what's he doing? And they said, yeah, he's in the Olympics. She's like, oh, geez, I don't know anything about that. I said, I know he's been out in the ocean swimming around. I thought, I didn't know what he was doing out there. So this was the interview. She didn't have a clue. She's like, I don't know what he's doing. Like, she was as shocked as they were that he was in the Olympics. So it's quite an amusing interview.
Too funny. Yeah, too funny.
At one
There
point,
was someone else. There was someone else that actually made a sport at a high level, and they were terrible as well.
There's been a
Just
few.
had one just had one on the tip of my tongue just then. And I thought that was really funny as well. But yeah, the swimmer I remember in particular, and then the everyone's the bobs the Jamaican bobsled team are famous for obviously making the Olympics.
But there's another one. There's an American skier, female. The difference was she was so good and so far beyond any of her competitors. She went to 2 Olympics, Winter Olympics, and it was one of those events that's sort of a newer event that's come into the sport over the last decade or so. It's a downhill event, but it's ramps and jumps and all sorts of things like that. I can't remember the actual name of the event. Anyway,
Ski cross.
it could be something like that. But anyway, she's in the lead by probably 150, 200 meters. Can't do anything. All she's got to do is finish. Gets to the last section. She can see the finish line. The last big jump, she decides to do a showboat. Crashes, loses. 4 years go by. She goes, won't make that mistake again. Almost picture perfect, exactly like a rerun. Gets to she's winning by 200 meters. Does the same thing, crashes, loses. And you just think, what was she thinking? You think after the first time, just get the gold medal.
My God.
And all the other skiers just go past her as she's sliding down the hill on her ass. Like, you just couldn't make that shit up.
That's ski cross. That's actually a really interesting event. They do snowboard cross and ski cross.
I can't remember her name, but she's so talented. Like, she's so talented that just rush of luck couldn't help herself on the last, had to do something for the cameras and loses. And that's 8 years. 8 years. Oh my God. The commentators were beside themselves. They couldn't believe what they were watching. I forget her name.
Who was I'm just trying to find it. Who was the Aussie speed skating athlete?
Yeah, Stephen Bradbury.
Stephen Bradbury. Yeah, that was a great story. I mean, he could skate. He was actually a high level skater. He just in that particular sport, if you get behind in that sport, it's very hard to pass people. Like, they're going so fast and so hard. It's so hard to get past people. So,
but I got in a big argument with people online about this because he was the worst skater in that final. And I'm not saying he's bad, but he was the worst. And people trying to tell me that he deserved that gold medal. And I said, I'm not saying he doesn't deserve it. What I'm saying is he didn't earn it. Because don't tell me his strategy was to sit at the back of the pack with 20 meters to go and somehow hope that everyone would just fall over and he'd win the gold medal. His strategy was to stay skating for as long as he could because everyone was better than him. And it wasn't his strategy. He didn't earn it. He got lucky.
Yeah, for sure.
Lucky.
And look, luck has to play a bit of I'm just trying to find this. Is it?
Well, I put it this way online to people. I'm a 400-meter runner. What my strategy in my next event is going to be this. I'm going to sit at the back with 50 meters to go in the 400. I'm going to sit right at the back of the pack and wait for everyone to trip. That's my strategy. Yeah. And I'm going to win a gold medal. Like, it's the stupidest thing I've ever heard. But this is what
I think in a lot of sports that have where people can actually crash out, when it's just all bunched up, that those things can happen. I mean, I follow the Formula One quite closely, and you do see situations where, guys that are at the very back of the pack and it's on a wet day and 10 cars in front of them crash in the first corner. Next minute they're in the point scenario. They haven't won a point for 3 years, so, and I suppose, go.
I was going to say, look at bike races, cycling.
Yeah.
How many times does that happen?
Yeah, it happens all the time, for sure.
Especially that rush for the line.
Yeah, the sprint for the line, exactly. They've got so much fatigue, they've got so much power, they race so close together. So there is sports where understand that your skills still have a lot to do with it. Your bike skills have a lot to do with it.
Sure.
But there's a lot of sports. I mean, I would even go as far as that, boxing and UFC can be a little bit that way. Every now and then someone gets a lucky punch, right?
Oh, yeah.
Someone that that shouldn't win this particular fight and he just gets clipped.
How many times have you seen both boxers knock each other out?
Yeah, I have seen it a couple of times. Not that frequently, but I have seen it a couple of times.
You've seen them both, right? Because as soon as you throw a punch, you're open.
Yeah,
So
sure.
Perfectly timed, you're both open. And if you both connect, and I've seen two boxers on the canvas knocked out.
Yeah. But I mean, it is skiing. I've just brought up, there was a girl here, the two of them got their crash before the line. Kelsey Serwa, her name is. That's the girl. That's the girl that wins the gold. Oh, these two girls in this particular event, they're both leading and they both crash in the last jump and don't make the line.
But there's a US skier that did
okay.
2 Olympics in a row.
Yeah, it's like a lot of these sports, but skiing is one of those sports, because that's the one thing about some of these sports. And look, the same can be said for track, I suppose, in the heats as well. But the conditions can change so much, and they talk about in ski racing, particularly the Super G and the downhill, like throughout the day, their snow conditions change so dramatically, and the track gets skied out, and all of a sudden it becomes icier and harder, and either sometimes faster and sometimes slower. So, some of the best athletes in the world sometimes, that are primed to actually win that event just don't end up winning because the conditions change. So, but that's just the nature of the sport. I suppose that, so that speed skating event, the nature of that particular sport. But Stephen Bradbury's got an interesting story. Do you know that he actually had a massive accident years earlier, and I don't know what country it was in or whether it was in Australia, and one of the skates actually sliced his entire leg open?
Oh,
Have you
yeah.
ever read that or heard that?
I've heard that can happen, but I've never seen or heard much about it. No.
I want to say that I think he had something like, I was trying to Google it here. So it says here, Stephen Bradbury was inducted in Australian Hall of Fame in 2017. He created history in Salt Lake. He became the first Australian to win Olympic. Sorry?
That guy in the Hall of Fame. Oh, my God. If I was in the Hall of
Stephen
Fame,
Bradbury.
I'd ask to be taken out.
Yeah. He's got a Medal of Honor, was inducted into the Sport Hall of Fame, Sport Australia Hall of Fame in 2007 as an athlete member for his contribution to the sport of speed skating. Although Bradbury created history in Salt Lake City when he became the first Australian to win Winter Olympic gold medal in the 1,000 metre short course speed track skating, and then 10 years prior to his victory, he had already proved himself to be one of the best performed short skaters Australia ever produced. So I know here, so here it is. A decade earlier, it's before his win, he had a hard slog that was included more than his share of misfortune. In 1994, a race accident resulted in him losing 4 litres of blood and requiring 111 stitches.
Yeah.
He crashed, and I remember, I've seen the scar, the blade went through the inside of his thigh, and it cut him virtually through his leg. 111 stitches, like he didn't bleed, 4 litres of blood, Chris.
Yeah, like very, very fortunate.
Very. So apparently it was huge. Anyway, so yeah, he's in the he got a Australian Medal of Honor, mate, for his contribution to sport.
I'd give him a Medal of Honor for surviving that. I wouldn't put him in the Hall of Fame, though. So
Well, he is.
Yeah, that's disgraceful in my view. As I said, if I was in the Hall of Fame and they put him in, I asked to be taken out.
You're harsh.
Well, you get it for merit. You don't get it for luck, being lucky.
Yeah, true.
It's not the Lucky Dip Hall of Fame. It's the Merit Hall of Fame. So, if you looked at every lucky person, just had the Lucky Hall of Fame for everyone that lucked out, it'd be a joke.
Yeah, I know. Anyway,
I just think that's a bit of a G up that one. You gotta earn it. You don't get handed these things like biscuits and out of a biscuit tin. But anyway, good on. I mean, I don't begrudge it by. Let's put it this way: if I was in a 400-meter race and everyone did their hamstring 20 meters to the line, and I crossed over and won a world championship, I'd still take it. But I would.
yeah, you would be handing the medal back.
Yeah, but I wouldn't hand the medal back. But I wouldn't be running around town crowing about it, and I wouldn't want to be in the Hall of Fame for it.
No, but as we've said before, and I used to also not love if I turned up on race day and the competition wasn't great and you go out and win and, you felt like, oh, you've run a crappy time and won. But Pete used to say to me all the time, 90% of the battle is getting to the start line.
That's true.
Just to get on the start line is actually a big deal. And you think about some of these sports, the risk of injury, you think about cycling, just turning up to a cycling event, the opportunity to actually crash throughout the air and have some stuff go wrong. UFC, just just to get to the fight healthy, I think is massive, because they're sparring and some of the stuff they're doing these days. So, yeah, look, I think that's part of it. You just got to manage that as well. But anyway, it's it happens. So, all right, we might leave it there for today. Quick catch up, good to chat, and yeah, all right, that's it for now. Have a great day and chat soon.
Done. Cheers.
See you, mate.
Bye.